So which championship club is winning the summer transfer window so far? Well, in this video, we are going to go through every single championship club's squad. We're going to look at the new signings, look at every position that has been strengthened, identify the areas that could still be improved before the window is shut as well. So plenty of things to get into in this one. Let's begin with Birmingham City. So let's start then with Birmingham. You can see I've put this together using the JLA Tactics board. I'm really enjoying this software right now. It's giving us an opportunity, in this case, to look at every single position of every single championship squad and look at the areas that are in a good place and areas that aren't in such a good place. And with Birmingham, I think when we're looking at the transfer window, it's really important we highlight the new players because they have added. We've got Dukes, we've got Farashi, we've got Damari Gray, we've got Fujimonto, we've got Tommy Doyle, Cashin, Newman, Isaiah Samuel, technically Garda Hickman, but not really. And of course, we've also got James Beadle as well. And by doing this, we can see the positions in the areas very, very clearly that have had the most work. We can also see the positions that I think could still have some work in. Straight away, I'm looking at those wide areas. I'm thinking Damari Gray definitely strengthens the left and the right-hand side. You've also got players in Stansfield that can play on the left and the right. And of course, I can't duplicate these players. Stansfield can also play under 10. He can also play up front. He can probably do a job on the left. So you've got players that are versatile in those forward areas, which is great. And again, Gray is an example of someone that can play on both sides. You've strengthened the attacking midfield position. Possibly could do a bit more work there. It depends if you want to have Stansfield in that position too, because like I said, you add him into those list of names and you suddenly go, it looks all right. Up front, really like the profiles. I think they could probably do with one more. Of course, they lost Alfie May. I think that's probably sensible if you look at the levels of this squad now and the comparison between them in League One, and already that squad was exceptional in that division. They're taking it up. It's about not raising the floor, but just raising everything, actually, not raising the ceiling either. It's totally taking this squad to another level. I like the profiles. Farashi, Duke's very different, but offers something that in different games can work a treat. And you've got Dykes, of course, scored the winner against Blackburn. And again, he's that tall, big, physical focal point that can provide those moments off the bench as well. So I like that. I have got a few concerns on the left-hand side, and I think we will probably see Birmingham looking to dip into the market on not just a left winger, but a left back as well, because Buchanan is injured. So really, didn't mean to highlight him. He's not new, but he will be new when he comes back because he has been out for some time. And you've got Cochrane, really is the only left back in that squad. Anderson. And again, you know, the left wing position looks slightly bare because you could play Stansfield there, you could play Damari Gray there, you can play other players. Williamson's played in those wider positions as well. So that's not the end of the world, but I do think a left back and another winger will probably be on the list. Definitely strengthen the midfield with Tommy Doyle. Really like that midfield. Now you've got lots of options in there. Didn't know what type of role Leonard was going to play this season, but you've got four really strong central midfield options. Two, Asar Samuel's come in at right back and pushed Ethan and Laird. I think both of them are going to share that role next season. This season, should I say. Gardner Hickman, again, someone I've got in at right back because he has played right back. He can play in midfield. He can play in those more attacking positions on the flanks too. So he's a nice player to have around, you know, someone that can fill in those positions, a bit of a utility man, if you like. And then at the back, probably still one more defender short after Bielik left the club. But you've got Cashin, who, for a player that can, as an understudy, step in for someone like Clara or Newman, is an unbelievable player. A left footer as well, which are very, very rare. So, again, I think you've definitely strengthened the back line. More work could be done. In goal, I like Beadle. Again, somebody who's going to raise the floor. Somebody who is going to just improve that goalkeeping department and improve that part of the pitch. So all in all, Birmingham, definitely up there. And you'd expect it with the financial backing of that football club. You'd have expected them to do well and spend some money. And they have done that. But I don't think they're done yet. On the whole, key areas definitely strengthened, as they do have aspirations to go on and do something quite special this season. A few more areas still to go, but on the whole, looking at it with a few weeks until that window shuts, really impressed by them. The squad looks in a good place. So next up, Blackburn. Once again, let's highlight the players that have joined the club this summer. We have got Deneve, we've got Tavares, we've got Henriksen, we've got Miller, we've got McCaughlan as well. Am I missing anyone? I think that is pretty much every single new player that has joined the club this summer. So a fair bit of work. a fair bit of work. Of course, they lost Weimann up front. They lost Dolan, of course, who played on that left-hand side as well. I'm hearing some mixed reviews on Hedges this season. I do try and keep up to date with how the other supporters of the clubs are feeling about their current squad, and Hedges, I don't think, has had the greatest of starts to the season. And of course, in Henriksen and Deneve, you've got two young players as well that I think need to have, need time to adapt and develop, and that isn't going to happen straight away. They haven't played in the English division before. They need to adapt to a very, very different type of football. The Championship is a beautiful division at times, but it also is one that does take a bit of time to get used to because it's not straightforward, especially in those wide areas when you're up against some pretty robust, strong defenders that, again, physically may be something that needs to come with time. Tavares in midfield, again, he was the most expensive player that Blackburn have signed this summer. McLaughlin, again, somebody who can play in various positions across that back line, which is helpful. Miller, again, somebody who can come in and play right back, but can also play in centre back. So you've got players that are quite versatile, actually, which I quite like about Blackburn's recruitment so far. They've actually looked at players that can play in multiple positions. So when you want to change and you want to adapt, and we know they play a back four, but they can also play a back three, that's really, really important. In terms of positions that needed a bit more work, in my eyes, I think that left-hand side probably does, both at left back and at left wing. I know you've got Deneve who's come in, and of course, you've got to be patient with him. I think those wide areas, actually, we could probably stretch that to that right-hand side as well. I think those wide areas and probably left back is an area that could be looked at. In attacking midfield, I really like Cantwell. Again, you could maybe do with an extra body in there. Up front, of course, like you said, you lost Weimann, you've got Gay, and you've got Hashi. So you have got players that can play up there. Are you going to need one more, potentially? If that's an injury, having two in that position is a bit of a risk, especially if you want to change things and you might want to throw two up top in a game. Again, having that option is helpful. But on the whole, I think it's been good. I think there's still, I'll rephrase that. I think it's been pretty good. It's been all right for Blackburn, but still some areas that need to be improved, I think. So not done yet with Blackburn, but on the whole, I really don't mind it. I think the squad has got balance. I think it's got a bit of versatility as well. So yeah, not too shabby for Blackburn, I don't think. So Bristol City next, the start to the season against Sheffield United that couldn't have gone much better. A tricky game against Charlton, a very robust team defensively, and couldn't break them down. In terms of their current squad and the players that have been brought in, you can see they've gone with wing-backs this season. That's the way that Struber wants his side to play. He wants to operate with those wing-backs, those two attacking tens behind the striker. Let's highlight some of these new players. Let's go with Emil Rees, who has started really, really strongly. Also, Joe Lumley, I'm not quite sure how much of a part he's going to play in the Championship this season. That's a loan, I believe, that's become permanent. Of course, Randall has joined from Plymouth, which is great. And Vitek has joined on loan from Manchester United. So not loads and loads of signings for Bristol City this summer. A few players that have returned. Rob Atkinson had that spell on loan at Portsmouth last season, and he's come back. Malulu went on loan in the second half of last season, and he's returned. Stokes as well in that number 10 position. I've got next to Twine, went on loan last season, has come back. So players that maybe weren't there last season or didn't play a huge role last season returning. It looks like Struber's not afraid to bring players back in and trying to be patient with them and, again, get him into the side that now is his side and not a Liam Manning team. And I think, again, that there's a few players that might benefit from this change in formation. I think someone like McCory, it looks like he's thriving at right wing back. You've also got players like Rees, who looks like an exceptional striker in this side. And if you look at free signings and some of the most bargain additions of the summer transfer window, I think Bristol City in ML Rees have probably got one there. So yeah, on the whole, I think they've recruited sensibly. I think that midfield is great with Randall. You've also got Bird in there. You've got Knight, and I think Williams is now injured. So perhaps if we're being a bit more picky, you could look at bringing in another midfielder. They let go of Marcus McGuane, and on reflection, he looked pretty good, I think, when Bristol City played him last season. In those sort of cameo appearances. I think if we look at their squad now, potentially he could have played that role in midfield as that backup, with now Williams being injured. But of course, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But Other than that, I think they've got a really good balanced squad there. You've got players that can play behind the striker in those number 10 roles. You've got lots of strikers. I think Armstrong could be someone that leaves the football club. We've seen reports of that. I'm not sure Cornet's going to play much football this season. Malulu is one that you're going to need to be quite patient with. Again, I like the back line. I think Pring, Roberts, Atkinson, Dickey, Viner, McNally, Tanner, lots of options in there. And when you're playing a back three, that's important. A few goalkeepers that have joined the club as well. I don't think O'Leary's future is looking very bright. So again, you brought in a new goalkeeper, and he looks to be a really, really strong goalkeeper too, on loan from Manchester United. So again, you've made a big decision there, but it looks like it's paying off so far, and you've given things a bit of a refresh, which I think is nice, without doing loads and loads of work, because you've already got that big change in the new manager coming in. So trying to keep it as stable when you're changing a formation and a head coach, I don't think is a poor decision whatsoever. And also, this is a side that finished in the playoffs last season and, of course, did get beaten quite comfortably by Sheffield United. But you've just played Sheffield United and you played them off the park, lads. So don't worry about it. It looks like a good team. It looks like a strong squad. Potentially, like I said, a midfielder. Other than that, maybe another left wing back or someone that can play on that left-hand side. Of course, Sykes can play on the left and on the right. I wouldn't say he's naturally a wing back. I think he could probably also play in those number 10 positions as well. Charlton next, one of the busiest teams in this summer transfer window. Let's highlight these new players. You've got Charlie Kalman, we've got Alife, we've got Nibs, we've got Carey, we've got Apter, Rankin Costello, we've got Burke, we've got Bell, and we've got Kaminsky. I believe they are all of the new additions. So straight away, we noticed that forward area has definitely been strengthened. Nibs, Carey, Apter, Kalman, Alife. You've got players there that are either in really good form or played at this level before, which I think is great. And you've got different profiles. You've got a really nice mix of three of those things. When we're judging teams in this transfer window and we're looking at those positions and those key areas of the pitch, they are a really nice blend. And you look at that striker position first, you've got Lieben there, who I think could be a championship striker. He looks to be a really, really good player. And we've seen that from a young age. Can you rely on him with those recent injury concerns? Possibly not. Looks in pre-season like he has come back a fitter version of himself, which is great. Kanu's someone that could be on the way out on loan, I imagine. When you look at the amount of players in there, can't see a lot of minutes for him. Although you say that, Godden looks to be injured at the moment as well. So you're leaving it with Kalman and Alife as those two strikers, and both of them are new additions. Kalman, patience required with Kalman, big fee. Someone who is in a fantastic place last season for Leyton Orient. In the Championship, hasn't ever really hit the ground running, but clearly you've got a striker there. And Nathan Jones has watched him numerous times last season. Of course, played Leyton Orient in the final. Played them twice in the league. You've got someone there who, and you don't need to watch him either, you could just look at his goals return and go, yeah, he looks to be in a fantastic place as a striker. So patience with him. Alife, physical profile, really like that from Stockport. It gives them something a little bit different. Again, don't want to sort of be a stereotypical profile type of person, but if we're looking at comparisons to players that have left the club, he's like a Chuck Sinike, isn't he? Someone that's physical, someone that is a focal point in those forward areas as well. So I like that. I think stylistically that does fit. On the right-hand side, you've got Rob Apter. Again, really strong 1v1 winger. Again, I like that addition. I think he's someone that can probably play at right wing back if that's an area that Nathan Jones wants to go down, but also can play as a right winger. And that's where he played for the majority of his time at Blackpool. And we know how good he can be. Nibs and Carey definitely strengthen those attacking midfielder positions, which I think is great. It relieves that duty of Berry, who we know is a good operator at this level. But you've got two players there that are slightly younger and also can sort of hit the ground running based off a really good recent season. Rankin Costello, again, a bit of a utility man. Really like that signing. Really sensible, really solid. Someone who can play at right wing back. Someone who can play in central midfield as well. He can probably do a job on the other side too. A really nice addition that can cover all areas of the pitch. And the back line also seen some work too. Burke, slightly worried about his fitness levels and whether or not he can play a lot of the season. But if you're adding a body in there and you've got someone that can stay fit, I think he's a good central defender. Amari Bell looks to start of the season really, really well. And if we look at Gillespie, who was fantastic in League One, to take him out of the side and replace him with Amari Bell, also Gillespie who signed a new contract over the summer, I think it's interesting that Amari Bell's come in and taken that position on the left-hand side straight away. And that says a lot about what Nathan Jones thinks of him, and who can blame him too much when you sort of see his time at Luton together Kaminski, also a Luton player that's joined the football club, a really good goalkeeper. Someone who's played in the Premier League, didn't have a great season in the Championship last year, of course, but we know what he can do. And as a shot stopper, I think he suits this side really, really well. In terms of further incomings, I think the word out of Charlton is that they are done. No more new additions will be arriving this summer unless, I imagine, injuries occur or there's a player that becomes available that they didn't think was going to come available and they have to make a decision there and then. But on the whole, I think they are done. And if you look at the areas that they've strengthened, we spoke about teams that get promoted. Oxford were the same last season. I've used this analogy so many times, but I think it's true and worthwhile. You've got to strengthen all over the pitch. You can see goalkeeper, centre-back, players that can play on the wide areas, lots of players that can play in the forward areas as well. So you've definitely done that. Charlton, hats off to you. Definitely strengthen the squad. As the transfer window goes, I think you've had a really, really good one. Coventry are up next. 3 new players have joined the club. We've got Rushworth in goal. We've got Kesler Hayden, and we've got Braw there as well. So you've got 3 new players, 2 fullbacks, and a goalkeeper. Other than that, not a whole lot. I think defensively, that's the area that still needs some work. I think we just did a video on Coventry and we spoke a lot about their attack, how good they are in attack. However, defensively, they do tend to ship quite a few goals. And that could be potentially a tactical thing, and that could be the way that they do attack, and they sacrifice their defence at times to be a bit more forward-thinking and to be on the front foot slightly more. That's fine. However, I don't think that is sustainable across the season. I don't think winning 5-3 is sustainable across the season. And if we look at those bigger games against bigger opposition, no disrespect to Derby, but teams I imagine are going to be up there come the end of the season, that is not a sustainable approach. So having a bit more quality in that centre-back position on both sides, I think definitely the left-hand side will be important. So a centre-back, I think, still has to be on the agenda. In midfield, some good options there. Allen, Eccles, Torp, Sheaf, Grimes, some really good players. I think Torp, if he can stay fit, will be that starting midfielder next to Grimes. To have Sheaf, Eccles and Allen who can come in as well, I think is a really nice piece of depth. So in midfield, I think they look quite good, and you've got players there that can play in those different areas. In the wide areas, again, I think potentially a bit light. I know Andrews is a young player. Mason Clark is going to play every single game that, if he is fit, and that's absolutely fine because he is that good. Thomas Asante, we saw him play at right wing against Derby because Sakamoto was, of course, injured. You've also got Borges Rodriguez who can come in and do that. Up front, probably still need someone else. And again, we look at the wide areas. You can play Hadji right on the left-hand side, and suddenly, if we move him out there for a moment, it looks okay. And if you're going to do that in the long term, then of course you need to probably look at another striker, and the left-hand side looks slightly better. So it is interchangeable. It is quite fluid. I think another attacker wouldn't go amiss. I think another defender wouldn't go amiss. Maybe someone that can help the workload in that number 10 position, maybe another type of creator, potentially. But other than that, I think we're looking at a defender, possibly an attacking midfielder, and then another attacker, because you've got quite a fluid front 3 there. Thomas Asante can also play up front as well. So I don't mind it. But the 3 players that have come in, I think definitely, are sensible additions. Improve the fullback areas or strengthen those fullback areas. I think Kesler Hayden is going to push that position. I think Rushworth has come in to be that number 1 this season, especially with the injuries in the goalkeeper department. Again, really top goalkeeper on loan from Brighton. So yeah, Coventry, a bit more work, potentially. A few late additions could be on the agenda, but as the squad looks right now, I think it's in a pretty strong place, and you've got real quality. And importantly, you haven't lost anyone either, and that's going to be key, because someone like Jack Rodoni, I imagine, is going to have a few suitors. So yeah, on the whole, pretty good. Derby County next, let's highlight these new players. We've got Aguiman, we've got O'Donnell as I imagine, backup goalkeeper. We've got Vyman up front, we've got Brewster as well. We've got Morris, you can see we're nearly running out of space in the penalty area. Lots of new strikers have joined the football club. Danny Barth at the back has also, of course, joined. Sanderson has joined on loan from Birmingham. We've got Bobby Clark who's joined on loan from Salzburg. We've got Becker's joined on loan from Liverpool. We've got Ozzo's returned on loan from Crystal Palace. I think that is about it. Yes, so quite a few additions, a fair few additions. And Derby County fans are going to be watching this very frustrated, because you've got those players highlighted there, and not many of them have yet had the opportunity to play a game for Derby. And definitely players that want to be playing for Derby week in, week out, especially in those forward areas. Now, Danny Barth, I get it. Someone that's been at Blackburn, we've used this before, fine. Sanderson, I get it. been at Blackburn with Eustace before, and of course at Birmingham as well. So I get it. I totally do understand it. I think they are fine. Are they starting centre-backs? In my eyes, probably not. If you can bring in the players that are currently injured, the likes of Langas, the likes of Salverson, potentially Nelson as well, I think you're looking at a much stronger back three. And maybe Eustace goes back to a back four because he can do that as well. So this could be a temporary thing. Fine. We'll leave the defence there. In terms of the forward areas, I think they definitely have added quality. And we look at Aguiman, someone who, again, needs a bit of patience. I think will take a little bit of time to adjust to the division. Of course, been playing in America. Looks to be a quite physical, strong profile, quick as well. Good finisher. Again, he hasn't yet played for Derby. Big fee, pretty big fee for someone of that profile, but especially coming out of America as well, which is quite interesting. So clearly they believe that he can impact the squad. Shame he can't impact the squad right now, because someone like him next to Carlton Morris, I think, is really exciting. And Weimann as well is someone who's been with John Eustace before, is a great operator at championship level, knows this level fantastically well. And Brewster as well, someone that if you can keep fit, ironically he is currently injured, I think will be good. He spent a good time at Sheffield United. Good time as in quite a long time. Was it all good? No, not entirely. However, I think it is a good option to have. And if you do go to a four at the back with maybe some more traditional wingers, he can play in the wide areas as well. So again, I think it's fine. Clark, they need to play more, to be honest. I think he is the creator. I think he could be someone that's really quite exciting, and they are severely lacking in creativity right now. And in terms of further additions, some more creativity does need to be added. And Bobby Clark, I don't know whether or not he's returning from an injury or he's still trying to be worked into this squad. I think if you get him in, he's going to be really, really exciting, and they're crying out for someone like that can make an impact. Ozzo, really like him, really do. I think on loan last season looked like a really robust midfielder who can break up play, can carry the ball, real physical monster in those central areas, which I think is a good, sensible reloan. And then Beck as well, someone has also been with Eustace on loan at Blackburn. He joins on loan from Liverpool. And again, he can play at left back. He can also play at left wing back. So it makes sense. And all of these players really do make sense. However, with the current injuries at Derby County, you're looking at that transfer window and you're going, this is a transfer window that right now looks a bit shoddy. But I think when they do return to fitness and when these players do make a difference for Derby and can play, I think we'll look at this transfer window very, very differently. I'm not saying that their work is done. I think they still need a different type of attacking midfielder. I think, again, I don't want to say they need to sign another centre-back because I don't think they will, but with the current injuries, it's clearly not working. Maybe it's just a case of waiting until those players do return. Other than that, I think the window definitely does strengthen this Derby County squad. It's just this current injury crisis that's causing them so many problems. But yeah, difficult to judge Derby, really, because their squad is going to be quite good, I think. But it's hard to see that now, isn't it? Hull City are next, and considering that they only realised that they could sign players on free transfers and on loan, they've done quite a fair bit. We've got Joe Gelhardt, who's returned on loan from Leeds United. We've got Ndala, who's joined on loan from Manchester City. We have got John Lundstrom, who's joined on loan from the Turkish division. We've got McBurney. We have got Williams on a free transfer. We've got Ajayi on a free transfer. We have got a few more midfielders in here that some players actually did sign for fees. That must have been early on in the window. Vermeer, of course, who joined after his release from Sheffield Wednesday. Phillips, I believe, is the goalkeeper. Yes, it is. Other than that, I think Destin as well joined on a free transfer. I think that is everyone. I think that might be all of the new players. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Let me know, Hull City. I think we've done a good job there. And you can see quite a few new additions. And considering, like I said, that we were only looking at players that joined on loan and on a free transfer, they've been pretty active. And I did say this on my podcast. Go and check it out, by the way, on Spotify, The Champ This Week. We did a whole lot on Hull City because, of course, they beat my beloved Oxford United at the weekend, fair and square. I'll say that. And I did compliment Hull City quite a lot because I said that their starting 11 when it got announced was really, really strong. And this whole squad is strong. And my hot take, and this isn't a video about hot takes, this is looking at transfer windows so far and current squads. But my hot take is Hull City will cause teams problems in the Championship, because this is a good team with some very, very good operators and players that have played in the Championship before. Also players that have got a really nice blend of experience and players that are looking to develop and improve their abilities on loan, a lot of them. So I do like it. I do really, really like it. Let's start in the forward areas. McBurney's come in. He looks to be the standout addition, considering this is a squad, like I said, that was looking quite ropey at the end of last year, and there's a lot of question marks over the sacking of Ruben Selles. Now, let's not go into that, but potentially that was controversial. Now, not as controversial. I'll let Hull City fans have that discussion. But again, it wasn't in a great place, and with all of the embargoes and situations over the summer, to still go and sign McBurney, I think is really, really positive. Gelhardt, again, looked good on loan from Leeds United last season, and he's already making a really good impact. Scored a good goal against Oxford United at the weekend, so he can play also up front and on that right-hand side. And you'll notice when we do this, you can see there's a lot of depth, actually, and there are players. There isn't many areas that you look at that and you go, I'm concerned about it. I think in attacking midfield, you've got players that can play in there and new recruits. I think in midfield, you've definitely strengthened. You've got lots of players in there. Lundstrom still looks to be a really, really good player. Somebody who, as he's got older, potentially has adapted his game slightly, but still a good operator. Played here with Sheffield United. And he's gone on to play for Rangers. He's gone on to play in the Premier League. He's done a whole lot. Turkey as well, of course, where he's on loan from. So he's got a really, really good pedigree about him, and he still looks to be a top midfielder. Williams on the left-hand side, I think if you're using him as someone that can be a bit of an understudy to Giles, I think that's fine. And that left-hand side's strong. I think Williams is a good player. I think he, maybe off the pitch, he hasn't made the correct decisions a lot of the time, so that has hindered that career. But if you remember his time at Manchester United, it was, at the start, really, really positive and really exciting. And again, didn't really work out. A few loans that didn't quite work out. And then, like I said, issues maybe in his own control that didn't quite go the way that he would have wanted to go. And his career has now taken a bit of a backward step. But he's at Hull City and he's been given another chance. And everybody, like the new manager said, deserves another chance. And that left-hand side does look strong and does look really exciting against Oxford United. He looks to be a really fearless winger who wants to beat players, wants to be 1v1. You've got Kamara, if you can keep him around. I know Hull City and Kamara have had a bit of a mixed relationship since he signed from Norwich last season, and with the rumours of him leaving, I think that needs to be sorted. But you can't doubt Kamara is a talent. He certainly is a talent, and it certainly is an option. The back line, if you can keep hold of Hughes, I think that's going to be really, really important. I think if you can, use Egan in the way that he was used in these opening first games of the season, I think he's going to be fine. I think Pandor is a goalkeeper that is, again, absolutely fine. And if we look at the players that have left the club, I mean, other than Alfie Jones, I'm looking at that list, I'm thinking there's no one there that I'm like, oh no, they've lost him. I mean, again, Amrabat and João Pedro, I mean, they were certainly aging. Yeah, other than that, I don't think there is a whole lot. So I think they've had a good window. And considering that the window was so poor, in terms of the restrictions, should I say, sorry, they've done a really good job of still strengthening this squad. So Hull City, they're my dark horses. I think they're going to be absolutely fine. You've got lots of options, and you started the season really, really positively. Kieran McKenna's Ipswich are up next. Let's highlight some of these new players, shall we? Akpom, we have got joining the club. Matuswa, we've got Kipre, we've got David Button, the standout. That's the marquee signing, David Button. Of course, we've also got Ashley Young as well. Other than that, also Kajuse joined on loan from Napoli once again after that time in the Premier League. Other than that, that's about it. And that's probably how Ipswich Town fans are feeling right now. Is that it? Yes, it is. There still needs to be some work. Now, I think the players they've brought in, again, a third choice goalkeeper, maybe not so much. Other than Button, sorry, David, I think they have definitely added quality. And you've definitely added players that bring something a little bit different. I like the way that Kipre brings a bit of versatility across that back line, which is great. I think he's physical. He can play right back. He can play left back. He can play on either side of centre back. So again, really, really sensible, and someone that comes in and helps out in multiple areas. And you've got players in here, when we're speaking about versatility and how important that is, we've got a few players that have got injuries. And Townsend, for example, we can pull him out. Sorry, Townsend, you're going to be out for the majority of the season, we believe. It's also Wes Burns is still injured as well. So there are areas that do require some work. So when you sign someone with that versatility, I think it's really, really good. Now in midfield, certainly a few problems still. Now, I've got a young lad in here called Barbara, and I'm not quite sure how many championship minutes he's going to get. He might be required to play a few games in this current situation, but I don't think that's the plan. Other than that, you can see it's pretty light. It's pretty light, especially when one of these players has only just signed and hasn't had a full pre-season. So you've got a very, very light midfield there, and that's why there's a lot of noise at the moment about Ipswich looking at another midfielder. And when we look at this visually, it's very, very clear that that is needed. They need some extra legs. They need somebody who can come in and be a little bit different. So that's definitely a position. No surprise why Ipswich and the noise is about bringing in another midfielder. But also, and we've done a lot of work on these opening games, I've watched a lot of championship stuff and really gone into detail about these teams and where I think these teams are lacking at the moment. And when I look at Kieran McKenna's team, I'm definitely pointing at lack of creativity. I really, really am. And I need more from these wide players. I really do. Of course, Nathan Broadhead has left the football club. Amari Hutchinson's left the football club. Liam Delap has left the football club. And they are players. And again, Broadhead didn't play a lot of football in the Premier League, but Amari Hutchinson was crucial. Liam Delap was crucial. You've lost a lot of goal involvements there. And you've only signed Chuba Akpom. So there are definitely areas that need improving. Certainly. I think both wide areas could do with an extra body. I think they definitely could do with another number 10 and probably another striker as well to relieve that workload, because I don't think Al Hamadi is someone that they want to play up front for Ipswich in the Championship this season. I think he is going to go out on loan. That seems to be the noise, but right now they can't do that. They can't offload these players because they need them, because they are so light. There are lots of rumours about a few additions coming in the attacking areas, and that makes sense because they definitely do need it. But I would also say that these current players need to step it up. Players like Jack Clark, players like Philogene, Okbene, these players need to start improving. I think Connor Chaplin's had a really good start to the season, so he needs to start in that number 10 position, I think, because Sammy Smodics, felt quite sorry for him. I don't think he is that creative number 10. And when we blame creativity, it's so easy just to look at the number 10, but it comes from those wide areas too, and they've been poor. Also, left back. They probably do need a left back. Of course, we said that Kit Bray can play there. Ashley Young can play there too, but they could do with another left back, because Leif Davis playing every single minute of the season, I think, is probably the plan, fitness-wise, and whether that is sensible is another story. And of course, you can't predict injuries either. So on the whole, Ipswich, work to do, I think. Lots of work to do. You've signed some players, but you need some more players. That's the word of not just me, but I imagine a lot of Ipswich fans as well. Leicester City, this won't take long, will it, when it comes to highlighting the new players? Just the one, Asmir Begovic. Other than that, there is nobody else. Clearly a team with very, very little money, unable to reinvest in this squad, and they are light in a few of these positions, and there is a big concern about this current squad. What I've now done is taken those young players out and had a look at this squad from a senior perspective, and they're light. They're extremely, extremely light. Up front, Ayu Daka, are they wanting to play in the Championship? Now, they are playing in the Championship, and they're going to have to, as professionals, just butt their ideas up and get used to it. If they've got no suitors and no players that are going to come in and make an offer that Leicester accept, you've got to get on with it. I've seen a lot of conversation. I know it's fans online making those assumptions about their personalities in the Championship at Leicester so far this season. Fine. But I would agree that these players need to step up, whether they like it or not, because they're the senior pros. At left back, again, Christensen, I think, is out injured. You've only really got Thomas in there. Decordova-Reid, Mavididi. I think Mavididi and Fatu are really, really exciting, but we're beyond them, an injury to them. And we know that Fatu is injury prone or has just come back from a very long-term injury. So is he going to be able to play 46 games? I don't know. And if he can't, then you've got players in there that I think are going to have to step up. Midfield, pretty light. Skip hasn't hasn't impressed a lot. Winks has had rumours about his future. Backline, I think, you've got quite a few centre-backs. That's a positive. look on things, I imagine. Right back, a few players that can play in there. But beyond that, you're very, very, very short in players. And I'm finding it quite difficult to judge Leicester because as much as I want to sort of just say by looking at this, go and sign some players, your window's been poor, I completely understand that this is a very, very tricky football club right now and they can't go out and spend. But what this has done is show me that I'm a bit worried about Leicester and they are very, very light in a lot of positions. It's Middlesbrough next, and Rob Edwards, he started really, really well, hasn't he? And after a slow start to the transfer window, I look at this squad now and I go, I think it's pretty good. We've got Malanda, we've got Jones, we have got Naipan, we've got Kante, we've got Britton, we've got Hansen, and I believe that is it. I don't think we've got any more players I'm missing. No, I think that is everyone. And if you look at it, and you look at this squad, you go, it's a really strong one. I think it is a strong squad. And the question mark was always going to be about the wing-backs and whether or not they were going to go with wing-backs. Rob Edwards loves playing with wing-backs. He did it at Forest Green, did it at Luton, did it at Watford for about a week. So it was about him coming in and deciding if he could do that with the current group of players. And they did recruit. Britton, it took a while to get Callum Britton into the football club. As a right wing back goes, can do that to a very, very high level. So that made total sense. Silvera, tricky time at Pompey last season, but he's come back in now as a wing back on the left-hand side. Again, looks to be a really, really good, different profile on that side. And it's nice to see Rob Edwards looking at his entire squad when he comes in and going, yeah, he had a tricky time at this level at a club that were much lower than Middlesbrough. In the end, not that much lower, but different aspirations for sure. But we're still going to give you a chance. I think that's really, really nice to see. In terms of the new players that have come in, Kante looks to be a really strong defensive midfielder. Those long legs, very, very good at breaking up play, ball carrying, bit of a maverick, actually, when we look at defensive midfielders in the modern game. Really like that. Naipan, again, someone very dynamic, very, very exciting. Lots of suitors after him. On loan from Manchester City. I think that's a great coup. In the back line, I think Malanda, Jones in particular. Jones, I think, is such a good signing. Such a good signing from Hull City. At left centre-back, you've got someone who's a comfortable ball carrier, can spread it out to the wing-back, can go inside. And if we look at Middlesbrough and this current squad, and we're looking at players that are still here now, and we'll do a video where we rank teams' transfer windows come the end of the window, and when it is shut, but right now, players like Hackney, who are still at the football club, I think is great, and that's really, really exciting. They lost Van der Berg, of course, but again, you look at those players they brought in defensively, they replaced them. Now, they might need to go and replace Hamilton. Hackney. So again, that could be something that we look down the line and see in a few weeks' time. But right now, if you can keep hold of him, they've got a really strong squad. Number 10 positions, fine. Like that, Hamilton needs to sort of step up this season. Azaz, Bergsorb, Gilbert off the back of a good loan spell on the whole against Charlton second half of the season. Whittaker, we know what he can do. Hansen played out wide a lot of the time at his previous club, can play in the number 10 position, and I think will suit this role pretty well. Up front, probably the area that needs a bit more work for me. I think there's a lot of eyes on Conway. Now, Finch could step up as a young player. He could be someone that plays a part in this starting squad. But Conway is the senior striker, isn't he? And beyond him, there isn't a whole lot. So if I'm being a bit more picky, I'd look at another striker, another attacker, centre forward. Beyond that, though, I think it's been a good window. And after a slow start, Middlesbrough have definitely improved their squad. And a great start as well, which is always nice. Millwall are next. Quite a few players in this squad. Pretty big squad. Let's highlight the new players then. Of course, Coburn isn't technically new, but is signed on a permanent deal. Leongo joined on a free transfer. We've got Max Crocombe in goal. Don't think that's going to be going down as a marquee signing, although Alfie Doughty probably is. Zach Sturge as well. A bit of work on that left-hand side, which is nice to see. You've got Bendo's joined on loan from Chelsea as that goalkeeper. Other than that, I think that is it. So, yeah, a bit of work in the goalkeeping department, looking to strengthen that. Jensen's injury, of course, probably did push those decisions. The signing of Bender, for example, I think is the reasoning there very clear. Doughty, Norton Sturge, again, players that come in and improve that left-hand side. I really like the options at left back. I think at right back, you've got options. I think the way that Millwall have used those fullbacks in the opening stages of the season is really exciting. I think they've done a really, really good job of improving this current team. So I like it. I really, really do like it. In terms of the back line, now, they probably are a defender short, a centre-back short, especially if Tanganga goes. There's been a bit of noise over the last couple of days that Tanganga could be on his way out. I think Sheffield United have been linked. I believe his release clause is for Premier League clubs only. So whether or not that gets triggered or not, I don't know. Of course, he can still leave to a Championship club, but the fee will be the fee that Millwall necessarily want that isn't tied to a release clause. So that's going to be interesting. Like I said, right backs, fine. Central midfielders, I think fine. Kundal, Denore, Leongo comes in, experience, can play as a defensive midfielder, can play in a double pivot, fine. Mitchell, again, I like it. Right wing position, Negley, of course, has played a lot of minutes there. You've got Amaku can also do a job on that right-hand side as a young player. I say do a job. I think he's an exciting young player. That's quite harsh. On the left-hand side, Aziz, you've got Lovelace as well. Maybe, again, you've got wingers that can play on both sides. You could be maybe after another wide player. Up front, quite a few players. Ivanovic, of course, is the star man. Now, I've gone with, you might have noticed here, I haven't gone with that number 10 because you've got Coburn playing as a number 10 in the last game and Ivanovic playing up front. So we've got more strikers there. And of course, Langstar's played in that number 10, who can also play up front as well. So it's quite fluid in those front two positions. So you've got a lot of names there, which is fine. On the left-hand side, yeah, maybe a bit of work. Centre-back, if Tanganga goes, yeah, possibly a bit more work needed. But on the whole, I think the squad is in a good spot. And Millwall have recruited sensibly. I think they've got great balance in this team. And a lot of that work was done in January, wasn't it? They sold they got the fee for Zian Fleming in this summer, which was nice, and that was able to be reinvested. So they've done quite a good job. They've got rid of a few of those aging players, those players that have been here for a while, and tried to refresh things. The likes of George Honeyman, the likes of George Saville, Murray Wallace, Duncan Watmore, Sean Hutchinson, players that have been at Millwall for a long time, and like I said, slightly now aging into their 30s. And there is a bit of a refresh about it. They've done a good job of doing that. Maybe a few more additions, but on the whole, I think Millwall, yeah, I think I've understood every single signing you've made. If we look at their depth, other than a few areas, I think they definitely do look in a pretty healthy place. It's been busy at Norwich City. Quite a few new faces. Of course, a new face in Liam Manning as well at Carrow Road. We've got Nakama, we've got Vistegard, we've got Diallo, who have got on this left wing-back position in this back three, which is something that we have seen, but he can also play in that number 10. So don't be too put off by the positioning. We've got Topic as well. We've got Jacob Wright, who's joined permanently, so we will highlight that. A few new goalkeepers, haven't we? A real work in the goalkeeper department. We've got Jeffrey Slupp as well, which is interesting. Harry Darling, I mean, he knows Liam Manning pretty well, understandably. He has joined the football club. I think other than that, we have highlighted everybody. So a fair bit of work, a lot in the goalkeeper department. And that was needed because the goalkeepers last season at Norwich were absolutely all over the shop. There were goalkeepers playing too many different minutes, and we don't like that. We want to see a strong goalkeeping union, don't we, with a clear number one. It looks like we've now got that with a bit of a young balance in there, as well as experience, and as well as someone that is now in the prime years of his career. So a really strong, like I said, I use the word again, balance in that department, which I like. On the left-hand side, and again, we're quite confused about the formation because I've gone with a back three here with the wing-backs because that's what Liam Manning has played in the first two games of the season. He can also play a 4-2-3-1, so we could see that this season. He's quite stubborn, but also he will also change things. So you'd expect that as an Oxford fan. We've seen that before. Bristol City fans will also probably say the same thing. Quite stubborn in his approach. However, he's not afraid to change things. But when you say change it, he probably won't. But that's why he's the manager and you're not, respectfully. But again, I like what they've done. They spent some pretty big money. Vistagarden up front, I think, is someone that is going to come in and was brilliant, absolutely brilliant in the Danish league. So if he can come in and reignite that type of form that we saw him do at that level, it's going to be really exciting. He was wanted by quite a few championship clubs, so to get it over the line for Norwich with that secret release clause that people were talking about, I think it's a really sensible pickup. McCamm's someone that's a bit more developmental. I think will take a bit more time. Again, sort of broke onto the scene at Lincoln last season, so it's not going to be one that happens and clicks straight away. And of course, you've still got Sargent, who I feel quite sorry for. He's just behind these two players that I've highlighted. You can still see Josh Sargent. He's still going to play a big role as long as he's around as well. So up front and in the striker position, lots and lots of options. Some good options in those number 10 positions as well. So far, they've kept hold of Nunez, which is good in midfield. You've also got Wright, who's joined permanently from Manchester City, which again, I think he's going to play a lot of minutes. You've got Topic, of course, has joined from Portugal. You've got McLean still, Gibbs still, lots of players in that midfield, which I think is quite nice. And you've got lots of quality and depth in there. Left-hand side definitely had some work. Of course, Diallo can play in that number 10 position. You've still got Fisher. Now, he is wanted by quite a few teams. So you've also got Schlupp in there too. On the right-hand side, I may be looking at that as a position that could do a bit more work. You've got Jack Stacey playing there, and he's going to have to play quite a lot in that right wing back role because there isn't a lot else. But yeah, also, sorry, I didn't highlight Medic, did I? They have another centre back. So yeah, maybe we're looking at that position. At the back, definitely added and improved that back three because it needed some work, didn't it? You look at Duffy, Cordoba, these are players that, look, it's okay, isn't it? And of course, Brad Hills left the club on loan already this summer. It might actually be permanently. I think it is actually permanently. So Callum Doyle was there on loan last season from Manchester City. He's gone as well. So it left them very light. And with quite a few players, if we know the way that Liam Manning wants to play, they weren't really suited. So Harry Darling totally makes sense. Played in the back three before, played on a Liam Manning before, good ball player. Medic, good profile, good pedigree, of course, played for Ajax or played as part of that Ajax squad. So again, someone that we know can come in and play that really quite attractive style when needs be. They can be gritty. We saw that in their most recent game, but the squad is built to play some really attractive stuff, and that's exciting. And the squad is quite attractive, not literally. There are a few good lookers in there, but not literally. I'm talking about the style of play. Of course, Norwich, they've been busy. They've definitely been busy, and the squad has looked stronger. Really, really much stronger and suited to the Liam Manning way. Oxford United are up next. Let's try and look at it from a sensible perspective. Let's breathe, everybody. Let's go with Brian de Kirchmakers, of course, who is a new signing. We've got Brody Spencer as well. We've got Harris too. We've got Prelec. We've got Lancashire as well up front. So quite a few new faces in that forward position. We've got Jack Curry, who's returning. He's technically not a new player. That's it, isn't it? Is that it? Is that it? Yeah, that is it. And that is the problem that Oxford United have currently got. I was desperately searching for somebody else there, and there isn't anybody else, which is very, very annoying. And right now is a bit of a concern of mine. Now, straight away, let's look at those positions that we are short in. Now, De Kirchmaker is out injured. Harris is out injured. So for the time being, and we don't know the extent of Brian De Kirchmaker's injury, but in fact, let's keep him in because I don't think he could be too far away, thankfully. However, Harris, that looks to be quite a significant injury. Romney, also injured. Ferdinand, I don't think he's going to play many minutes anyway, but he is injured, so we'll move him out of the starting 11. Harris has played in the number 10 position quite a lot, hasn't he? So let's move him in there. Suddenly, this squad is looking very, very light. And I still do have my concerns about it. Now, right back, I think we're fine. I think Sam Long, I think Spencer, I think Kyoto will probably leave the football club this summer. And you've got Teraves. So you've got players that can play at right back. That is absolutely fine. And Brody Spencer looks to be a really good player. And actually, if we look at Brian de Kirchmaker's transfer record fee for Oxford United, I think he's going to be a great midfielder. I think Brody Spencer is going to be a great right back. I think Will Lancashire is going to be a really good player on loan from Tottenham. I hope Prelec, and I can't really say too much about him because we haven't seen him play yet, but I think he's going to be a good striker, again, coming from a very, very high top level division. The players we have signed, I think, will be fine. Just haven't signed enough of them, and injuries have definitely caused us issues. Now, Johnson is a young player in midfield. So if we take him out for a second, and Snowden, again, who's a young player, we take him out for a second, that midfield is light. Brannigan and Volks are really the only two players you can play in that position, and they, unfortunately, have shown that there is a weakness there for sure. So you could maybe put Sibley in there, but you're not going to drop Brannigan. And Brannigan and Sibley, I don't think defensively is anywhere near enough. But Volks' legs, I think at the moment in those bigger, and if we, this, I can just imagine this, so just stick with me. When the games are stretched away from home, it feels like the pitch is bigger. That could just be me. You can see Volks is struggling to cover those areas of the pitch. So that's a problem. We definitely do need to sign another midfielder, preferably a defensive midfielder. I think that has to be on the list. Now, Brian de Kirchmaker could come back in and suddenly everything's okay. But if there is another injury, Brannigan or Brian de Kirchmaker's, that position is light. Number 10 position, we haven't got a natural creator. I'm looking at Mark Harris. He's not one. I'm looking at Sibley. Not quite sure what role he's going to play this season. He's still in and around the squad. I don't quite know why you don't just try and play Sibley in there, because Harris just is not a number 10. He's a striker that wants to get in behind. He's not an attacking midfielder. The wide areas, Bachetta's currently injured. You've got Phillips and Mills. Mills has looked quite good. I think he has looked quite exciting. Still quite raw in aspects of his game. Phillips, aging, struggles. Goodrum, I think it's far more effectively in the attacking midfielder role, which you then go, well, you just said you're lacking an attacking midfielder, play him in the number 10. Yeah, but then you'll see you've only got Dembele who can play on the left. And Dembele is in and out of games, completely in and out of games. Can be fantastic, can also forget he's playing. So that's a real struggle. Left back, fine. I think Gregley and Curry are going to be good enough. That's going to be okay. Left-sided centre-back, big problem. Moore and Hellick have played there so far this season. Neither of them look comfortable. And even when the one he's playing in the uncomfortable position, it makes the other one uncomfortable. So that hasn't worked either. Clearly, the injury to Brown has caused some problems. We need a left-sided centre-back. In goal, we're okay. So other than that, so beyond that, we're all right. But there are clearly some problems here, isn't there? And Oxford, if we want to be serious, whether you've got injuries to new players or what, in the midst of a transfer window, we've got to try and recruit in those areas. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel. Look, the window's still open. That's how I feel. So just make it count. There are positions that are going to cause us some serious problems if it's not resolved. That's what I'll say. It's Pompey next, and let's start highlighting some of the new players, shall we? We have got Segatic. What a start to the season that new boys have. We've got Yan, we've got Bianchini, we've got Kozanovsky, Swift, we've got LaRue. We have got... Is that it? I think that is it. We're expecting another centre-back to join the football club in Josh Knight. But beyond that, I think we have highlighted every one of their new players. So if we start at the back, left back, fine. I think Farrell and Ogilvie will do a grand job. Like I said, Boa and McIntyre, I don't think he's going to play a lot just because I don't think he's good enough. Boa is going to be whether or not he can stay fit. So Josh Knight coming in makes sense. Shocking to see Paul, again, got a great record in the Championship. Is that long-term? They're a bit more shaky against Norwich and perhaps highlighted some of their weaknesses. Matthews invested a lot in him in January, so expect him to develop with the football club, but also play a big part as well this season too. Right back, you've got Williams, you've got Swanson. I've got Devlin playing on that right wing position, but he can also play at right back. He can also play in midfield, so he's their utility man. Goalkeepers, I think they will just sign another goalkeeper because they just like signing goalkeepers, but we know Schmid's going to be the number one. Those wide areas, perhaps a bit of work needs to be done. The left-hand side looks a lot stronger. The right-hand side, not entirely sure about it. Blair, I think he's injured. I think he is still injured. But of course, when he did play, still looks very, very raw. You've got Lang, who's now going to be injured. We also are hearing. So that right-hand side does look pretty weak. Up front, Bishop and Wallington, I think they can share that load. And Bishop, let's be honest, he's going to play every game that he is available for anyway. In that number 10 position, again, they can work with a few things. They could go with stepping another midfielder into the attacking midfielder and move Segacic onto that right-hand side that he can cut in and still provide that magic that he's shown us. There's a bit of movement that can be done, quite a bit of fluidity in that forward line for Pompey, so that's absolutely fine. So, yeah, another centre-back expected. I think they are definitely going to sign another right-back, or they need to sign another right-back. Perhaps another striker, but it's hard to recruit a striker with Pompey because Bishop is just going to play every game. So you don't want to stop the development of Waddington there. So on the whole, I like it. I think they've done well. They needed to rebuild that midfield. They've done that. Perhaps a few more here and there. But on the whole, I get it. I think it's some strong recruitment this summer for Pompey. It's Preston next, and let's start by highlighting some of the new players because we've seen quite a few, haven't we? Let's start with the back line. We've seen a few new players join the football club. Of course, Michael Smith has also arrived as well. Quite a few players in the wide positions. Valentine's just come in. Small has come in from Charlton. We've got Jordan Thompson, who's arrived from Stoke City, I believe. We've got Iverson, the goalkeeper, there as well. We have got Daniel Jebberson on loan, so a bit of work in that striker department. We've got Alfie Devine. We have got... Is that it? I think that might be everyone at Preston. So let's go with that. I could be missing a new addition, but on the whole, I think they have done quite a bit of work, haven't they? They've done a fair bit of work, and they needed to. We saw that rant from Paul Heckingbottom at the end of last season, and he spoke about this squad just not being at the level, and they needed to strengthen all over the pitch, and they have done that. Both fullbacks, or wingbacks, should I say. Thierry Small, really exciting from Charlton. Valentin, I think, really exciting. Someone that did pretty well at Sheffield United when he did get that opportunity. from what I'm hearing so far, he's doing a pretty good job at Preston. So definitely looking much stronger in those wider positions of the pitch. Defensively and at the back, I think they've got players that can play at centre-back, in quite a few names in there too. The goalkeeper is also strengthened after, of course, Freddie Budman left the football club. Up front, Jebberson, question marks over him at championship level, for sure. I think it looks to be Smith, who has signed and who's going to play the majority of football up there. In midfield, you've got Devine, you've got Thompson, you've got players in midfield, and you've got quite a few players, and that does look quite stacked. But remember, they do play with those three in midfield, so that's why there's quite a few names in those central areas there. So I think on the whole, they've done a pretty good job. They could have done more. I think that I'm still worried about the creativity in this team. Now, of course, they've just beaten Leicester and Preston fans are feeling much better about it. Of course, that's what a win does. I think they could do with a bit more creativity. I think Devine is sort of where I'm looking at there, but I think there could be a bit more work done in that position. Let's take a look at QPR and their new signings. Let's begin with Kone. He's the standout striker, isn't he? Let's go with Poku as well. Dembele, technically, but of course, he was there last season on loan. We've got Burrow, we've got Mbengu. Is that everyone? I believe it possibly is. I don't think I'm missing anyone. Oh, yes, I am. We've got Adamson. Other than that, I think we've done a pretty good job of highlighting those players. So they are the new addition at QPR. There was a lot of focus on needing a striker, and they've done it. That's really, really positive. Kone was the one they wanted. Scored a lot of goals for Wickham last season. Do I have some concerns about him? Yes, I do, but I think that's possibly just naively because I haven't seen him play at this level, and he just hasn't ever played at this level. So that's understandable. Interesting to see if he can hit the ground running. But on the whole, if we're looking at goal record and the profile, the strength of his abilities, physically, literally everything, he definitely does tick those boxes. And they needed a number 9 that is good. Poku, really exciting winger, wanted by a lot of clubs, strengthens those wide areas, and it can give you a really deadly position of having Poku chair Dembele and Kone. So you've got a really, really exciting attack there. Now, beyond that, question marks over depth. Of course, Vale's come in. Technically, he feels like a new signing because they signed him in January, but he was injured the entire time. So him coming in, I think, is positive. Midfield-wise, got a few names in there. Varane, I think he's someone that's just signed a new contract or signed one in the summer, so keeping him around is great. I think Field, again, someone who signed a new contract, which is important. Done at right back, signed a new contract. Captain, makes total sense. Of course, you've now got Adamson and Morgan that can play in that position too. Centre-back-wise, possibly need someone else. I think they are a little bit light in there, and Bengu can play at full-back and at centre-back. In the goalkeeper department, Nardi has to be the number 1 for me. So if we're looking at that, on the whole, the players they brought in improve the squad and it adds quality and depth. And that's what QPR need to do. They need to do it sensibly. They need to do it financially respectfully, if you like. And other than Kone, they've been very, very sensible with those fees. And Kone, with that fee that they've paid around 2 million, just under 3 million pounds, I think it is, you got someone that could pay that back if he scores enough goals to keep QPR in the divisions. That makes total sense. I think QPR have done a good job. The players they have signed are good. I think they could do a bit more defensively for me. I think they've been linked with Ben Davies on loan from Rangers, which would be very, very helpful. But on the whole, the players they've signed, I think, make them a much stronger outfit this season. It's been a really tricky start for Ruben Sellers at Sheffield United, hasn't it? And if we look at this current squad, you can see why he is frustrated. And look, managers, it's very easy when the season doesn't start very well that they come out during a transfer window and go, it's not been what we wanted to do. However, I can see it. I can see his frustrations when we look at this squad. Let's start by highlighting some of these new players. You've got Somare in there, who I think has looked quite good, actually. I saw him play against Birmingham City in the Cup. I think he looks like a really, really good midfielder. So that's a good signing. We've got a few defenders in here as well. We've got Ukaki, of course, who's joined as that right winger. We've got Louis Barry on the left-hand side, is also joined. I think we've sort of done everyone there, I believe. I could be missing someone. I don't think I am. So here we go. We've got 5 new faces at Sheffield United, and that's the baseline of his concern from Ruben Sellers, that they need to have done a bit more in his eyes. And if you look at it, I look at the centre-back position straight away. I think the goalkeeper department, fine. If you can keep Cooper, it's going to attract interest, of course. He is. He's a really exciting goalkeeper. I think if they don't get promoted this season, which right now doesn't look very likely, does it? But we're 2 games in, he will go on and play in the Premier League. But if you can keep him this season, which I think is what we're hearing, that is fine. The back line, though, is a big, big problem. It's a huge problem. They need to replace NL and I'm not going to pronounce his second name, but you know I'm talking about, the player that's just gone to Feyenoord for a pretty big fee, around 6 million quid. You need to look at replacing that defender. That centre-back position right now looks weak. Norrington Davis played there against Bristol City, and he looked pretty poor. Robinson, again, is aging. Whether or not he can play week in, week out at this level, especially the way that Ruben Sellers wants to play himself, question marks I've got. I think Tyler Binden's someone that can do it. I think he looked really good at Reading. So I feel quite sorry for him because he's not going to look great now because his partner keeps changing, and the partner that he keeps getting changed with just doesn't really suit the way that he's being asked to play himself. So that back line, especially those centre-backs, need looking at. You've got options at full-back. Burrows is going to play at left wing-back or left-back, so that's fine. Right back, you could maybe make an argument to suggest they need another one, but I think Sariki's played there, week in, week out so far, in both the cup and the league. So let's see what happens at right back. That's not priority for me in that back four. In midfield, like I said, they've added players. Have they found their Sousa replacement in Soumare? Potentially they have. Arblas is still injured, which I think is really frustrating. Tom Davis, is he going to play a lot this season? I think Peck is exciting. Again, it's the moment with that injury to Arblaster. I'm not sure about Davis. They are quite light still. They are still quite light. In attacking midfield, you've got Gus Hamer and you've got O'Hare. Gus Hamer's been playing in a really weird role, been playing far deeper. If you look at his touches, if you've watched any of the games, Sheffield United fans, you would have watched all the games. He's playing much deeper, and that's not the position that we expect him to play, and it's not where he's best operated. So that's a bit of a concern. O'Hare can play in those wider areas, but can also play in the central spaces too. The wide areas, again, not overly convinced. I think Yukaki's someone that's going to take a bit of time. I think Brooks, again, is a young player. These players need a bit more time. Barry, again, slightly different, still a youngish player, but had a great time in Stockport. Did okay at Hull City under Ruben Sellers, and now he's been brought in. I think he will be good. I think he is a very, very good footballer, and we saw that in the lower divisions. Can he do it in the Championship? Let's wait and see. Let's see him do it on a consistent basis for a better team. No disrespect to Hull last season. We couldn't really see the best of Louis Barry, and not the Louis Barry that we saw at Stockport. So we'll wait and see on that. But again, pretty light in those wide areas. And then up front, again, Campbell and Cannon. Now, Cannon has really struggled since he signed. Campbell, I think, is a good player, but even he's being touted for a move away. So if you lose Campbell in that squad, that front three is also looking quite light too. I understand Ruben Sellers' frustrations, I really do. I think the squad has added players, and the individual players that they've added, I think, are good. I think they do improve things, but they need a lot more work for me. They need a lot more players. I'm looking at that back four, especially those centre-backs. I'm looking at that front three. They definitely need a few more additions. Sheffield United, it's a concerning start to the season, and I think if you look at the window, there's a pretty justified reason as to why there's a lot of frustration at the moment. So Sheffield Wednesday are up next, and you can see, because of those issues off the pitch and the players that have not come in and the players that have left the club this summer, they are light. Extremely, extremely light. And look, we all know what's going on. It is a terrible time to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and that is being reflected on the pitch. And you can see the results have been disappointing, but also expected. And the players that have played have given it everything, and you feel sorry for them. And when we look at visualising the squad depth, they are being stretched to the hilt, aren't they? In goal, we've got Charles, and that's a positive. Whether or not you keep Charles, whether or not he's going to be your player come the end of the window, he could be loaned back, is interesting. We'll have to wait and see, but at least you've got a goalkeeper in Charles there who is a good player between the sticks. Barry Bannon is the other positive. The fact that he's signed a new contract says everything about him, and so how loyal he is. I think that's a massive positive. You look in that midfield, you've got Shalabar, you've got Kabaki, who is, I think, more of a wide player and was brought in by Danny Rowe last summer as more of a wide player. Ingleson, again, interesting profile, someone that did look pretty good on occasions last season. Again, Chimpston's a young player, so it's quite difficult to judge these talents, but they're going to have to make an impact, aren't they? Because there's no other choice but them to be thrown in, because they are alone in there with not many senior professionals around them whatsoever. Palmer's been playing at left wing back. You've got Lowe, you've got Weaver, another young player. You've got Iorfa, Bernard, who I believe is injured. Valerie's been playing at right wing back, but again, as senior professionals go, there aren't many players in that position whatsoever. And then suddenly you're already in that striker department. They've gone with two strikers because there just aren't enough wide players in this team. You've got Ogbo, you've got McNeil. you've got Calamatri, and you've got Lowe. So you've got players up there. I think that's probably the area where they've got the most senior players. However, again, you've got players that last season, the likes of Lowe, and one of them was out on loan, I believe. Ugbo didn't play a whole lot last season. McNeil again didn't play loads. So you've lost a lot of key attackers, Windass, Smith, just to name a few. And then just talk about the centre forwards in that case. So Patterson as well. The list could go on. They've lost a lot of players and have not recruited them. So a very, very tricky time to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. We know this. And it's similar to what I said about Leicester. Obviously, you want to say, well, you need to go and sign this, that, and the other. But until that situation off the pitch is resolved, we're not going to see that. Hence why this squad is in such a difficult position. And these young players are going to have to sink or swim. And these senior players are going to have to lift those players with them. Not a good time whatsoever at Sheffield Wednesday. Southampton next. Only 2 new players have joined the football club this summer, but in terms of retaining players, I think they've done okay. Sulemana, Bednarek, Ramsdale, Kyle Walker-Peters have left the football club, but beyond that, nothing horrendous. Fernandez is still here. Dibbling is still here. Armstrong is still here. Hardwood-Bellis, also Edwards, and even Shay Charles, who I think is a fantastic player. There's rumours of Flynn Downs leaving the football club as well, maybe not to the Premier League, but to other Championship clubs. I think Ipswich were linked quite early on in the window. I think Smallburn's been linked as well. So they've had quite a few players that have had those rumours with them, but they've kept hold of all of them so far, other than the names I've just read there, which is positive. In goal, I think they're still okay. I think Bazunu's going to come back in. He didn't have a great time with Southampton last year, or last time he played, which wasn't last year, but the year before. But he stepped up now, and in the first 2 games has looked really good. I think the back line is pretty good. I think, you've still got Stevens in there. You've signed a new centre-back. You've got Edwards off the back of a good loan spell at QPR. Howard-Bellis, of course, looked pretty good in the Premier League. If you could look good for Southampton in the Premier League last season. But a chap, you've got Wood, you've got options in that back 3. And if you're going to play with a back 3, I think they are looking okay in that department. At left wing back, you've got Manning, you've got Wellington, you've got Taylor. So options there. At right wing back, potentially, there's a few question marks as to whether or not that's going to be enough. Bree's a youngish player. And of course, Sugawara is also somebody who can play at right wing back. I'd potentially say that could be an area. In midfield, Fernandez, like I said, you've kept hold of him. You've got Smallbone, you've got Charles, you've got Downs. I think as profiles go, really happy with them. I think really quite happy with them. Now, the questions will be, if you lose those players, can you replace them? I think the reason why they've only signed 2 players is because they're almost waiting for a bit of cash. They don't want to sell Fernandez and Dibbling ideally, but if they do sell him, we probably will see Southampton become more active, but then have to be replacing those players. Now, that's frustrating, but that looks to be the way that Southampton are operating. In those number 10 positions and those positions behind the striker, I think they've still got some really, really good profiles. Robinson's come in and played quite a few minutes from the under 21s or under 18s. It's the under 21s or under 18s. It's the under 21s last season. He's only 18 years of age. That's where the mix-up is, and that's quite exciting that Will Still is integrating these new players into the squad. Up front, you've got Downs, raw. He is a raw player. I think patience with him for sure. Armstrong, is he a solo striker? I think he's probably better suited as a player playing slightly behind the striker, maybe in that wide attacking midfield role that can drift into those wider spaces. You've still got Ross Stewart at the football club as well. So potentially look at another striker, but I think Damien Downs is probably where they've put their money in the centre forward position. And when he hasn't started amazingly, and again, he's a young striker that will need time, that can be quite frustrating as a fan base, because you'd probably be asking for another centre forward there, weren't you? But yeah, I think Southampton, on the whole, it could have been much worse when you look at losing players. Could they have been a bit more active? Yes, but I think that's because Southampton are only looking to sign players and operate in the market if they lose one of their big boys. And so far, a lot can change, but so far they've kept hold of the 2 in mind that scream out to me, and that's Mateus Fernandez and Tyler Dibbling. Stoke City have been busy this summer. They certainly have. And we've had Mark Robins starting to put his clear identity on this Stoke City team. Lots and lots of new faces, players that are already making an impact. I don't think I'm missing anybody out. And Zonzi's a player that I'm going to make sure I don't miss out, because that's quite a cool signing, isn't it? A bit of a flashback. Beyond that, I think I might have highlighted absolutely everybody that needs to be highlighted. And straight away, you can see the work that has been done. And this Stoke team needed work, didn't it? It needed work. And if Mark Robins was going to make an impact on this Stoke team, he needed reinforcements and he needed to be backed. And he has done. Now, I need to focus on that front three or front four with the two wide players, the attacking midfielder and the striker. Lots of new number nines have joined the football club. Lots of different profiles. I really like the way that Obama has started the season. I think Cisse, again, is somebody of a very different profile. I think Bosnick, again, someone that is going to provide something a little bit different. Suba Thomas at left wing, again, has started the season really, really well. A really exciting winger that likes to drift inside and find their central spaces. Donnelly was great at Leyton Orient last season. And Zonzi, love the flashback addition there. Cresswell at left back, sorry. Again, somebody who's played at the Premier League for such a long time. And in the Championship, I think he's going to be absolutely fine. And he's playing week in, week out already as the season has begun. And again, the centre-back position has been reinforced, including Phillips, who's rejoined from Tottenham on loan. So two Tottenham loanees in Ashley Phillips and Donnelly. A nice connection being built with Spurs there, which is always nice when they give you that trust in bringing in those players. So, yeah, a really strong Stoke City recruitment strategy this summer. They've definitely looked like a side that mean business. They've definitely backed Mark Robbins. And like I said, they've put a real emphasis on improving those forward areas and improving those players in the most dangerous areas of the pitch. And you can see they've done that. I really like the Donnelly signing in particular. I watched him quite a lot last season in League One, and he is so exciting as a number 10. Again, Thomas, been here before, already making an impact. Cresswell, I think, brings experience. He brings quality. He brings the whole lot. In terms of the depth of these positions, goalkeeper, fine. I think Johansson was linked with the move away, but that's gone quite quiet now, so keep hold of him. Great goalkeeper. Centre-backs, Lowell, injured a lot last season. We know he can play in midfield and he can play at centre-back. I like it. Right back, left back, looking pretty good. In the middle, again, you've got players. Seko has already looked like a strong player. And Zonzi, Baker also can share that word like with Pearson. And Zonzi, again, brings experience. So you're bringing in those elements that are really important. You've also got, like I said, lots of new faces in the attacking areas of the pitch as well. So really, really happy with that. Really strong with Stoke City. Feeling positive about them. And we've already seen that reflect on the pitch as well. Maybe if we're being really picky, you look at another wide player on the right-hand side. But you've got players that can move into that position as well that are also operating in the positions that maybe are slightly more preferred in their eyes. But Manouf has been great already. So he won't want to be missing from that starting 11 either. But Stoke City, I'm feeling positive. Really positive indeed. Swansea, what have we made of them so far? Well, defensively, they've made additions. They've made lots of additions and they've improved things at the back, which is important. Of course, they lost Harry Darling to Norwich, so bringing in some more central defenders makes sense. Cabango, is a really good central defender, and we've seen him play already consistently. So that's strong. You've got Casey, who's a young lad from West Ham, I think will develop. He got linked to a few championship clubs in the January of last year. So he's now got his move. And when he's given that opportunity in this Swansea side, hopefully he does get it. He will have that opportunity to develop, which I think is great for all parties. So I like that. He definitely bolsters that position. Ricardo Santos, haven't really seen him in a back four before. Played in a back three a lot at Bolton. Maybe in a back four, we'll have to reserve judgment. I don't think he was brilliant for Bolton last season. I don't think many Bolton were great last season. So we'll wait and see what Ricardo Santos looks like in this Swansea back line. We haven't seen it yet. Burgess, again, is someone that played the Premier League last season with Ipswich. So we know what he can do at that level. And we also know what he can do at Championship level, where they were far more successful than, of course, in the Premier League. So certainly strengthened that back line. In terms of the midfield, Galbraith was one they wanted for a while. I get it. I like it. He was brilliant. Now, didn't play a lot in central midfield for Leyton Orient. A lot of it was played at fullback. So again, we're waiting to see what he looks like playing consistently in midfield. Of course, in his younger years, we did see that at Manchester United and his previous clubs before Leyton Orient. And he did play in midfield sometimes, but I'm trying to say that consistently across the whole season, and his best campaign last year wasn't in that position. But technically, I think he is, of course, fine. So he'll be great. And I'm sure he will give them a real technical boost in the centre of the pitch. Inusa, I think, is an exciting winger. Again, patience with him, a bit of time, but we'll wait and see what he can do. Really strong 1v1, direct, quick winger. So he's going to enhance those wide options. Still think they're slightly short in attacking midfield. I'm still waiting to see what they can do. I think that creatively, I do still have my worries about Swansea City. They tried Galbraith playing in that attacking midfield role. I don't think he's that natural creator in that position. They have got a few names that they can play there. Up front, again, not totally convinced. I think Cullen is okay, but they could do with another player. So Watford next. Let's start by highlighting their new additions. We've got a bit of a revamped attack. Cipriano's joined from Peterborough. The back line has seen a bit of work as well. I believe that is everybody that's joined the club this summer. And straight away, thing that stands out to me is that they've gone down the younger profile. They are looking to recruit younger players that can grow with the football club. Two 19-year-olds have joined the club, a 20-year-old. The oldest player they signed was Mark Boller at 27, Baxter's 26, Cipriano's 24. So again, these are players that are entering the best years of their career, but also can grow with the football club. And sometimes at Watford, can be quite difficult when you're changing your manager so often. But if they do believe that this current direction is the right one and where they want to take Watford Football Club, then it's quite positive. And I completely understand why they've gone down this route, because signing those championship veterans that they've had before in previous years, of course, isn't really the direction they want to go down. They want to bring in players that they can sell on in the future, but most importantly, can grow. And like I said, move with the times, but move with Watford. So let's see what happens there. They have spent a bit of money, not loads of money. They've used the Udinese links, as they always tend to try and do. But they have certainly been quite ambitious, quite bold in their approach, and look to sign players that have got a high ceiling. And that's hopefully in the long term going to raise the floor. Right now it raises the ceiling, but hopefully in the long term it raises the floor, and it enables them to build a really competitive squad that they own, that has been progressed and developed over time. So I like what Watford have done in terms of the position, and the depth in those positions. I think in the wide areas, they look fine. I think up front, again, patience is going to be so important. There'll be games where they don't score as many goals and everyone goes, they need to get a new striker. They need to bring in some new wide players. They're going to take time. There's going to be growing pains with this team because they are young players. But in terms of the amount of players in every area, they're looking pretty good. Perhaps another centre-back. Beyond that, I think they look in pretty decent shape. So Watford, I like their strategy. It's going to require patience, and that comes from upstairs. And as we know with Watford, can you always trust that they're going to give their managers that time? Well, either way, they've got to give this squad time, because it's certainly not the finished article just yet. So West Brom next. Let's start by highlighting the new additions. It's Hegebo up front. We've got Christoph Collier here. We've got Phillips, we've got Bielik, and we've got Campbell. So a heavy focus on the back line. You can see here Bielik, captain of Birmingham. Nat Phillips, been in the Championship for quite a long time, played at a higher level as well. Campbell is joined from America, so slightly more unknown. Collier, exciting young player from Manchester United, rumoured to have a bright future at Manchester United, clearly highly rated there, been in and around that first team for the last couple of seasons as well. Hegebo, again, for me, slightly more unknown. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched lots of football in Norway, but again, everything that I've heard about him is that he's a very, very highly rated centre forward, who is going to push the current attackers that West Brom have got. And they've got other strikers. You look at Dyke, you look at Madger, Devante Cole, unsure whether or not he's going to be around for much longer. They have got options in that forward area, but to have that type of profile, they clearly rate him, spending a decent fee on him. But lots of focus on the back line and adding a focal point in the forward areas as well. In terms of that midfield, I think Collier does come in and prove things. You've got Mowat who can play in that central midfield role. You've also got Malumbi who can do it. You've got Price, who's had a fantastic season. I do have maybe a few concerns as to whether or not Price is going to be overplayed at times, and not because he's having a fantastic season. I'm not saying don't play Price. I'm saying that he is actually if we're looking at number 10s that can naturally play in the number 10 position, Price looks to be the only one. I think Mowat can probably do it, but as he's got older, he's progressed backwards slightly to now being a deeper player. So I wonder if there is another number 10 that could come in and sort of share that workload at times. But right now, Price is undroppable. He's having a fantastic start to the season. Those wide areas, I think Fellows, keeping hold of him is really important. Johnston looks like he was going to leave, but he looks like he's going to stay. Wallace and Grant, again, players that have been at this level for a very, very long time and know how this division operates. Fullbacks wise, I think at the moment they are looking pretty comfortable. Styles is a midfielder, but also can play on either side defensively in the fullback position. They're looking pretty decent in those areas. A few additions, extra sprinkles on top later on in the transfer window when teams maybe are offloading a couple of players on loan from Premier League clubs. They're not afraid to do it. We saw it with Collier already. So yeah, I also like how they've gone with permanent additions this summer as well so far. You know, one loan signing, that was Collier. Everybody else they've bought, so they own those players, which I think for West Brom, who have had sort of financial restrictions, not because they haven't been able to spend that money through rules, but actually because they haven't had loads of money because they want to be sustainable in different ways. To now go and see them spending around 11.5 million euros is really exciting, and it shows that they are now ready to take that next step up. And we saw with Ryan Mason, they're taking a bit of a gamble, but they think it's a calculated gamble because he's such a young, exciting coach. You've got to give him the tools. And look, it's experience that's been coming and can support a younger manager. I think they've definitely looked at that and they've gone, we've got a younger coach here that I'm not saying is going to be laughed off, but it's important to have a younger coach with experienced pros that have been here before. And I think with the likes of Bielik, with the likes of Phillips, they are definitely adding that on top of the likes of Moat, Furlong, Styles, Grant, Madger, Wallace, for sure. They've got quite a few players, actually, haven't they? They've been here before. So I like West Brom. I like what they've done. I like their strategy. They've had a good window, in my eyes. So finally, last but certainly not least, let's chat Wrexham. Let's highlight these new players. Broadhead, we've got O'Brien as well. Let's look at Kiefer Moore, Josh Windass. Also, on top of that, Ryan Hardy as well. Lots of new centre forwards joining the football club. Thomason has arrived in midfield as well. Connor Cody, Ward at the back. I believe that is all of our new signings. I don't think we've had any more so far. And there will be more for Wrexham. I do solely believe that. I think we will see certainly some more additions. I've seen a few rumours over the last couple of days. I think this squad is going to be improved before the window shuts. But as of right now, looking at things currently, you can see lots of focus has been on the centre forward position. Lots of focus has been on improving that part of the pitch. Ryan Hardy, Nathan Broadhead, Josh Windass, and Kiefer Moore. Different profiles. Certainly different profiles. Players at different stages of their career. Nathan Broadhead at 27, Kiefer Moore at 32, Ryan Hardy at 28. So similar to Nathan Broadhead in that sense. Josh Windass, 31. So you've got sort of two players that are potentially leaving their prime years, and then you've got two players in their prime years, which I think is probably less so what we've seen in the last couple of years with Wrexham's recruitment. You'd normally expect your 32-year-olds like your Kiefer Moores, maybe not in that type of quality in the divisions below, but that certainly that age, and Josh Windass at 31. Signing players like Nathan Broadhead at 27 and Ryan Hardy at 28, maybe less so. But with Broadhead at 27, you're going to spend some big bucks, and they had to spend quite a lot of money to bring him to the football club. But I think with him and Kiefer Moore and those different partnerships that be created, and let's be honest, if we look at that striker position, there are a lot of players that can play up front. I think Sam Smith's going to still play a part. Not quite sure what Ollie Palmer brings at this level. Marriott, again, not sure what he brings at this level. Rodriguez, again, I don't think the championship is about him. So they've certainly got already, options in that position, and they've gone on and strengthened it and taken the floor, the quality to the next level. They've raised the floor significantly. And again, if I'm some of those attacking players, I'm probably thinking, I don't think I'm going to get many opportunities in the championship this season. Into the central areas of the pitch, you can see that's also something that needs to be spoken about, because they've added two players in O'Brien, a more attacking midfielder. Thomason, who's a bit more of a box-to-box, hard-working central midfielder as well. And you can see there are a lot of players in that position, a lot of players. Now, of course, they play three in midfield, so it's not overcrowded, you'd say, just yet, because you are playing three there anyway, and that's looking at the depth on top of that. However, Dobson has played for the majority of the season so far. Not really played 2 games. I mean, more minutes wise, he has definitely been making appearances. You've got James has also played a fair bit too. So I think they are going to be looking at another central midfielder. I saw Andy Irving being linked earlier. So they've got options in there. They're probably going to have to again offload a few players, to be honest. Elliot Lee, I wonder what his future looks like. Is he going to be week in, week out available from a quality perspective, first and foremost in the championship? I'm not entirely sure. I think that's something to look at. But yeah, they've got options, in the middle of the pitch. But of course, they play with three players. That's important to remember. But they will look to improve that. But with improving things, you're going to have to relieve a few of those players this summer too. The squad's quite big, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a chunky squad. If we look at the centre back positions, you've also see Connor Cody's joined the club. Other than that, not a lot of work has been done on that back line, which I think is what they're focusing on next. I saw Callum Doyle being linked as a left-sided centre back in this back three. I think he would be brilliant. And you can see you've got players that are surrounding Connor Cody that, again, could be championship level. I think a few of them could grow into being championship level defenders. However, if I'm being brutally honest right now, I'm unsure which ones are. So that's going to require a bit of attention. And I think in the opening couple of games, we've seen that they need to be a bit sharper. And that, again, could be not blaming them individually, on waiting to see what this back line looks like. I think what we definitely do know is the new signing Connor Cody is going to be at the heart of that back three. I imagine they're going to be recruiting at least one more that starts next to Connor Cody. But again, they've got quite a few players there. So I imagine a few departures for Wrexham as well, because the squad is still fairly bloated. I think they still want to do more work. In the goalkeeper department, we've, of course, seen Danny Ward come in. Now, for me, he shouldn't be the starting goalkeeper. And we've seen it already so far in the first two games. He doesn't look like a great goalkeeper anymore. And I'm not entirely sure why he's come in and taken over from the number one goalkeeper. I just don't understand why Okonkwo isn't playing. I just don't get it. I don't know whether or not it's an experience thing and it's Parkinson wants to go with a more experienced goalkeeper. If that's the case, then I really don't know where they go. So on the whole with Wrexham, have they improved the squad? Yes. Do I see more goals in this squad? Definitely. Do I see more Championship and Premier League experience, even international experience, the likes of Connor Cody? Yes, I do. Do I think they're still going to do more? Certainly. That's how I currently see this Wrexham situation. I think they also need to focus on getting a few players out of the club as well. And that will come when they sort of, sign a few more players. I think we're going to see a few more leave before the window shuts. But that's my thoughts on Wrexham. And again, the first two games hasn't been brilliant, but patience will be required. And it will take time before these new players come together and partnerships are gelled.